Schizophrenia is a severe and chronic mental disorder that affects how a person thinks, feels, and behaves. It is often characterized by distortions in thinking, perception, emotions, language, sense of self, and behavior. Although the term schizophrenia originates from the Greek words for split and mind, it does not involve a split personality, which is a common misconception. Hallucinations involve perceiving things that aren't present, with auditory hallucinations, hearing voices, being the most common in schizophrenia. Delusions are false beliefs that are not based in reality and often involve misinterpretations of perception or experience. For instance, a person might believe they are a famous historical figure, or they are being targeted by secret organizations. The exact cause of schizophrenia is unknown, but it is believed to be a combination of genetic, brain chemistry, and environmental factors. Research has shown that imbalances in the brain's neurotransmitters, dopamine, and glutamate may contribute to the condition. Additionally, structural brain abnormalities have been noted in those with schizophrenia. Factors such as prenatal exposure to viral infections, malnutrition, stress during early life, childhood adversities, or traumatic experiences might also contribute to the onset of schizophrenia in genetically predisposed individuals. While there is no cure for schizophrenia, it is treatable and manageable with medication and behavioral therapy. Antipsychotic medications are the cornerstone of treatment, helping to alleviate the symptoms of the disorder. Psychotherapy, such as cognitive behavioral therapy, can also be beneficial. With proper treatment, many individuals with schizophrenia can lead fulfilling and meaningful lives. When someone with schizophrenia stops taking their medication, however, they risk a relapse of symptoms. These medications, such as antipsychotics, play a crucial role in managing the hallucinations, delusions, and other symptoms of the disorder. Without the stabilizing effect of these drugs, individuals may experience a resurgence of symptoms, which can be distressing and disorienting. While it's a misconception that individuals with schizophrenia are inherently violent, the risk of aggressive behavior can increase under certain circumstances, especially if they are not on their medication. This is particularly true if the person has a history of violent behavior or if their hallucinations or delusions have violent themes. For instance, if individuals believe they are under threat due to a delusion, they might act in self-defense, even if there is no real threat present. Beyond the risk of violent behavior, discontinuing medication can lead to a decline in cognitive functions and social capabilities, leading to reduced apathy, lack of emotion, and feelings of disconnection to others. Thank you to Elate Apparel for sponsoring today's video. Watching true crime can be intense and suspenseful, and it's important to be comfortable while you're engrossed in the story. That's why Elate casual shorts are the perfect choice for your true crime binge sessions. The front and back panel have differing lengths to give you full coverage. The side slit adds a touch of style and breathability, so you can stay cool and comfortable even during the most gripping moments. And with 2 pockets, you can keep your phone, snacks, and other essentials within reach without having to get up and interrupt the flow of the story. Elate currently carries 3 colors: black, forest green, and sangria red. Simply use code 15WICKED at checkout to receive 15% off of your purchase of Elate Casual Lounge Shorts. That's 15WICKED, and the link is in the description below. Alright, back to the story. On the platform Grindr, a dating app catered specifically to the LGBTQ+ community, 2 profiles catch each other's attention, setting the stage for a meeting that promises new beginnings. Kevin Bacon, a young man from Swartz Creek, Michigan, stands out not just for his engaging profile, but for his vibrant spirit. His skin, a canvas of colorful tattoos, narrates tales of his life's journeys and passions. Adding to his distinctive aura is his hair, ever-changing in his vibrant shades, reflecting his dynamic personality. On the other side of this connection is Mark Latunski. Initial conversations filled with the usual mix of curiosity and guardedness lead to a mutual decision to transition from digital chats to a face-to-face meeting. The chosen day for the meeting is December 24th, a time typical marked by holiday cheer and the warmth of festivities. For Kevin, it's an opportunity to make a new connection with Mark. Yet, he remains blissfully unaware of the shadows that lurk around the corner. The chosen day finally arrives. But before setting out on this new adventure, Kevin, driven by a mix of excitement and anxiousness, shares his plans with his best friend and roommate, Michelle Myers. He informs Michelle that he is going to visit a guy he met on Grindr. Later that same evening, after departing, he sends her a text letting her know that he will be out for a while and is not sure when he will be returning. A detail that in any other context might have been brushed off as inconsequential. But this time it carries a hint of foreboding. The story of two individuals connected by a digital world of Grindr is about to take a turn, forever changing the lives of everyone involved. As Christmas morning unfolds, a seat remains conspicuously empty at the Bacon's family's breakfast table. Kevin is uncharacteristically absent. Concerns begin to mount, the joyous occasion of Christmas being overshadowed by a void where Kevin should have been. As evening arrives, the gravity of the situation becomes too great to ignore. Carl Bacon, Kevin's father, takes the initiative and contacts the police. The absence of his son from Christmas breakfast, a tradition in the Bacon household, is a glaring red flag. The search for Kevin begins, with family, friends, and authorities joining forces, hoping to find any clue that might lead them to him. The investigation leads authorities to a family Dollar Tree in Clayton Township. It's here that they stumble upon Kevin's car. The vehicle, parked in an unassuming spot, holds within it a series of unsettling discoveries. Kevin's phone, his wallet, and some of his clothes are found inside, but of Kevin, there is no sign. The discovery of the car, rather than providing answers, only deepens the mystery. Why would Kevin leave behind such essential items? The presence of his belongings in the car suggests a sudden departure, a moment of urgency, or perhaps distress. With each passing day, the hope of finding Kevin safe and sound begins to wane. The chilling winter air, the short days, and the long, anxious nights take a toll on everyone involved. Amidst the search, the significance of the last known link to Kevin's whereabouts becomes evident. Authorities delve into his interactions on Grindr, hoping to trace Kevin's interactions and movements on that faithful Christmas Eve. Tragically, however, the community's worst fears are realized on December 28th. The search for Kevin leads authorities to a house in Bennington Township, the residence of Mark Latunski. It's here that the tragic fate of Kevin Bacon is uncovered. The police, upon searching Mark's residence, finds Kevin's lifeless body hanging from the ceiling. The grim scene reveals that Kevin has been stabbed in the back, his throat has been slit, and in a macabre twist, parts of him had been consumed. This shocking findings brings an end to the days of desperate searching, but marking the beginning of a quest for justice. The town of Swartz Creek, once bustling with festive cheer, is now cloaked in mourning. The loss of Kevin Bacon, a vibrant soul with dreams and aspirations, leaves a void within the community. Upon discovering Kevin's tragic end, Mark Latunski is quickly arrested and held for questioning. From the outset of the interrogation, it becomes strikingly clear that Mark suffers from mental health problems. For example, when asked his name, he responds with a convoluted narrative, suggesting that Mark is not his legal name, but rather a stolen identity, a name he claims was last recorded in 1972, born with black hair, brown eyes, and as a cripple. Mark further asserts that everyone he grew up with was aware that he wasn't Mark, yet they never informed him. He speaks of a birth certificate with inconsistent dates and hints at a mysterious past. Throughout the conversation, Mark's sense of identity appears fragmented and confused, raising concerns about his mental state.
Mark David Latunski. Okay. That is not my legal name.
Oh, it isn't?
No. That is a stolen identity. Mark David Latunski was last, or at least the last record that I have of Mark David Latunski was 1972. He was born in 1969. He has black hair. He has brown eyes. And he was born a cripple. So, what happened to Mark David Latunski? I have no idea.
Okay.
However, all of the people that I grew up with knew that I'm not Mark David Latunski. And they just failed to tell me. When I did my ancestry DNA, and I'm not a Latunski. So I did the digging, and when I confronted the people that I was raised with, they said, oh, now you know. I said, okay, so who's Mark Latunski? Who knows? At least as far as I know. I know he was born. I have a birth certificate. But the dates on that birth certificate span 1969 to 1972. So I was born no earlier than 1969 and no later than 1972, when two cousins from my family, genetic family, signed off on those state of Michigan documents. I don't know if that document is a death certificate for Mark Latunski or not. But I've been using that name to go to school, get an education, hold a job, but it's not me, and everyone in this county knows it.
During the interrogation, Mark also expresses a delusion that he is of royal descent. He also alleges that his mother held a trust fund in his name, but she passed away on the very day she was supposed to reveal the trust fund to him and the details of his true identity.
The fact is that my mother passed away on the very day that I would have come of age by our culture, and I would have had to have been told that she was my mother and that I wasn't just, gee, this little kid. I was her son and had this trust fund. Now I talk to people and I say, what are the chances that the very person who held the trust in guardianship, who was required to tell me, passes away on the very day that she would have had to have done that?
So when you said come of age, what did you mean come of age?
It was my 12th birthday.
And you said come of age for your culture. So I honestly...
I'm Norwegian.
Okay, so you're Norwegian.
I'm Norwegian.
So what is... Explain to me then what coming of age for Norwegian means, because I don't know.
4 multi-generational trust funds that would have been set up who knows when. Things that I don't control the conditions of any more than my mother controlled the conditions of them, which is why the people in New York, the families in New York that I've been in touch with here and there, all know more details than I do because they know much more. All I know is that I'm sitting here as the only living Thomas of Wales that I've been able to find. And
so you're a Thomas of Wales?
I am a Thomas of Wales, and I reached out to the people in Great Britain to find out if there are any more. I have looked amongst my blood relatives. I don't think there are any other Thomas of Wales of the Thomas of Wales clan left except for me.
At another point, Mark also expresses a delusion that every aspect of his life, from his communications to his daily interactions, is being recorded. This notion extends to the point where he feels that even in his private conversations and dealings with financial institutions are being watched. He describes the realization as liberating, suggesting a level of acceptance or even relief in this delusion. All of these delusions are consistent with a diagnosis of schizophrenia.
So, even in some regards, I could almost guarantee all of my communications, all of the people that I contact, everybody that I run into in one way or another, maybe not through the government, maybe in ways that are being run through this trust, everything's being recorded. So there's no way for me to run anything in private. Now, when I came to that realization that nothing is private, absolutely nothing, and the fact that my cell phone communication and everything else is all wrapped up into this because, hey, they get all of that, all of those bills, and they get all of the access. So when I talked to the New York bankers and looked at it and said, how do I exist in this world? Now that I know that it's there, how do I exist in it? And they say, well, you know what? You just have to exist in it as best you can. And I was like, so nothing in my life is private. Absolutely nothing. So to your extent, that's very liberating to say, you know what? A person can like it. A person can not like it. It doesn't really matter because like it or don't like it, it's still out there.
The subject of the interrogation then shifts to Kevin Bacon and how they met. According to Mark, their first physical meeting took place on Christmas Eve, though they had been communicating prior to that. Mark eventually confesses to the horrific crime, but appears to argue that Kevin had consented to everything. In fact, Mark speaks with a tone that suggests he was providing a kindness to Kevin. This is, of course, a baffling notion. Even if Kevin has consented to deadly torture, this consent would be invalid, and Mark would still be charged with murder.
What is going on with the, why we're here, there's a welfare check that you let the troopers go in and graciously search your house, and they see a man. Who is that man?
Well, who, and again, when you talk to those, on those sites, you can get any name or no name.
What sites did you meet him on?
Gosh, I would have to, I think that one was Grindr.
Okay.
But no matter. We chatted for a while. He described the things that he wanted. I did what I could to bring those things about. And after we sat and made an agreement about what was going to happen, we made the agreement, and he was supposed to disappear, be gone.
Okay, so you meet him in Swartz Creek?
I met him in Swartz Creek.
On what day?
Well, that would be the 24th.
Okay, on 12/24, Christmas Eve. Okay.
It was Christmas Eve.
And then...
was that the first time that you'd ever met him in person?
That was the first time I'd ever met him. I had chatted with him, so I had a tremendous amount of detail of what he was looking for.
Mm-hmm.
Only what he was looking for.
And you're trying to help him.
What?
You were trying to help him.
Well,
The system.
in that regard, I took everything that I had to set it up, and I put it into a bag. I laid it out in the trunk so that it was there in the back of the van. And then I got in the front, and I said, you decide. And at that point, he says, I've made my decision. I said, take and, put on the different gear that he wanted. that he'd selected. He'd taken some and said, no, not this one, he picked it all out. He wanted to make sure that he was comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And that he was, as well as and without going on, I don't want to have the details on any record. It doesn't need to be there. What he wants is what he wants is what he wants.
Sure.
But at that point, I said, you know what? I'm not going to put these on you. I says, take what you have, take it off, put it in this bag. And he says, you know what? Can I text a friend and say, you know what? I'm just gonna be out, and whatever we blabbered about. And I say blabbered just because I said, you know what? You say whatever you want to say. And he says, okay, now that I've said it, I'm going to turn my phone off. Okay.
That was all at the parking lot?
That was all still in the parking lot.
Okay.
Do you know what store? Was it parking lot?
No, it was just a parking lot there on Grand River or not Grand River, Miller Road in Swartz Creek.
Okay.
And I said, if you're ready, I said, if you're doing this, then you put the stuff on.
What led to Kevin's death? He was telling you specifically what?
Well, I mean, it was a fairly long conversation.
In summary.
And in summary, I mean, he was talking about how many different times or in different little ways that he had that just because he just had it's difficult.
Although Mark alleges that Kevin was a voluntary participant, Mark recounts circumstances that shows he does not understand consensual boundaries. For example, he joked about being stopped by the police and questioned about the consensual nature of the activities he was involved with, suggesting that if the participant did not tell the cop that he was being consensually held captive, then Mark would go to prison and would come back and exact revenge. This suggested that although Kevin may have initially agreed to consensual relations with Mark, he may not have appreciated the depraved torture that Mark would subject him to. But Mark, in his delusional state, may have believed that he had Kevin's consent to do as he pleased, simply because Kevin initially agreed to certain acts with Mark.
So when you're driving him from that parking lot to your house?
I actually had him sit on a blanket and then I said, look, if we're driving down the road and someone looks in,
right.
Upper Beach.
That's what I'm trying to get at.
So I put 2 blankets into the back of the van for him, so that he could, and then I turned on the heat so that it was, plenty warm.
Yeah.
Like I said, I just looked at it and I went, here, this way. I says, look, and as we were looking at this different stuff, I said, if you decide to go with I said, then it has to be removable. I said, I could see it now. We get stopped by the cop. The cop looks in the back. He sees you all tied up. And this is one thing that I actually said to him. I said, they stop us, and he says, what's that? And I says, don't worry. It's okay. It's consensual. And then the cop is going to undo you, and he's going to say, is this consensual? And you're going to say, yes. I says, if you don't say yes, then you better hope that I never get out of prison. It's like I laughed about it, but, that's all serious because people will say yes. And then later it's like, well, no. Or I meant it to be no. And you really have to be very careful of when a person is saying no and when they're really saying no.
Sure.
And
When more or less the role playing versus out of that fetish world, they're saying, no, I've had enough. Legitimately, I need you to stop. I need to go back home in a nutshell.
Throughout the interrogation, Mark is repeatedly asked whether he has committed this kind of act before. He vehemently denies this, suggesting that Kevin was his first and only victim. This question does not come as a surprise, given that Mark retells the horrific events of his crime with an eerie calm, and his methods were meticulously planned out. A person who has never committed such an act before would show at least some emotion when retelling the events, given that taking a person's life would leave a lasting impression. Mark confesses to running a Facebook page where he would contact people who he alleges wanted the same fate as Kevin. He also explains that he is alpha and a leader of a fetish group. This runs counter to his assertion that he has never committed this kind of act before. This suggests that Mark is a serial perpetrator.
but
So has this ever happened before?
no,
You've never assisted anybody with these type of wishes or
no, I haven't.
or eaten anybody else's or any other part about it?
No. And I told him that as well. I've never done that.
Well,
I've never done it.
what you just got done saying, though, was that that's how you normally eat them.
No. I have a carton of Rocky Mountain oysters that I purchased of standard. I bought them from Marin Duff meat.
Rocky
Mountain oysters are just
Oysters, yeah.
yeah. And so that's how I had learned to just take the Rocky Mountain oysters, then slice them, put them onto the griddle, and I figured if it works for those, it should work for these.
So you as an alpha, you have these other men that seek out you to help them with their fetishes. How many men do you think that you have helped with their fetishes? Ballpark figures.
How many?
Or for how many years have you been, say, this type of a role?
Well, prior to about 6 years ago, I was submissive. I was a switch, or such. I get thank you letters or notes all the time from people all over the world.
So people from around the world that come to you.
Not either online or like I said, it's because I run a very open forum, so that anybody can contact me. They know who I am.
What's the forum called?
I use Facebook. I use I use Facebook a lot.
What's your name on Facebook?
That's Olikos K. Lucas, and that's Olikos in Greek. I do keep it. I'm going to say it's not open to everybody.
Sure.
If you're a friend, then you can see what's going on. And so, and I'm going to say, here's my life. Here's how I live it. This is what I believe. And if I can help you either in conversations or in real life, then I'm glad to. I've had people come in from Ohio. I've had people come up from Indiana. We go down to Chicago. We've been to Washington, D.C. We've seen people all over. So when you have and I'll tell you, and I said the same thing when I was talking to Joel yesterday. I've looked at the gay or fetish community. Do you know how many alpha males there are in the entire state of Michigan?
How many?
I've only met 2.
And you're one of them. No, you're one of 3 then.
if I classify myself as one, there are only two others that I've met in the entire state.
And that includes your friend, correct?
Well, I mean, he's in my pack. He's in my group. He's sure exhibiting alpha characteristics or dominant characteristics of his own, so we had to kind of separate a little. But if you were to talk to him and say, what's a lead ghost to you? He'd say, he's my alpha. So
you're the leader of a pack.
But we use that pack dynamic. You know, I mean, it's very common for that. And like I said, I look at it, and when we all show up to an event or we get together, yes, the three of us, we mark out different areas. I've met people who are alphas in, well, we went to New York City. You know, and I say, I toyed with the alpha in New York City just to see how he protected his people, see how he made sure that men that he was looking out for could go out to a social event, have a good time, get what they needed, and make it home. And so when I got too close, and when one of his group noticed me and paid me a little bit too much of attention, he took his group and he moved them off. And then the person that he had as this little soldier in arms closed up the circle and folded his arms and eyeballed me. It's like we moved from there to here because of you. Oh, good to know.
After Mark's confession, it comes to light that he had been previously diagnosed with major depression, paranoid schizophrenia, and traits of personality disorder. Mark, as it turns out, has a history of going off his medication and being hospitalized in psychiatric units. 911 calls from previous incidents also surface, reinforcing the notion that Mark had committed previous similar crimes before. In the following audio clip, a man can be heard asking for protection from Mark. He is so terrified, in fact, that he has gotten a hold of a knife to protect himself from Mark, should he have to use it.
Shiawassee 911, where's your emergency?
This is going to sound insane. I'm here in Detroit. I'm from New York. And I met this guy at the bus station who offered me a ride. And I'm not even sure where I am. Well, I broke out of this fucking basement, and I need a ride. Okay. I'm in trouble. I can't even find my way back to his place if I wanted to. I don't know if you can take my signal. I'm from New York. I'm walking down the street with a picture knife, sweetheart. I need help.
Okay, I'm going to get you help. Are you walking down the street right now?
Yes, ma'am, I am. I'm passing a barn. It's all beautiful here. I can't believe it. I don't know where I am. I don't know. Like, I've never ever had anything like this happen. I don't know whether he drugged me. I don't know. I woke up in the fucking basement, okay? Chained in a basement with a leather thing around my ankle, and I cut it with the butcher knife that I have in my freaking hand, excuse my French.
Okay. Do you have anything on you right now? Are you carrying anything?
I have my phone. I'm sorry, what?
Are you carrying anything?
A butcher knife. Until I see a police officer, when I see a police officer, I will throw it. Until then, I don't trust that he's not walking up because I got lost, and I don't even know if I'm headed towards his house or not. That's why I'm dialing 911. But I'm lost, so I don't even know if I'm headed back towards his house.
He just woke up in a basement. He was chained to something, so he cut the chain off.
I cut the leather strap that had the chain.
He's not sure where he's at.
I met this guy. I'm by. He was cute. He hit on me. I don't know. We went out to the car. We talked. We went to the store. I had a soda. I woke up in the basement.
Okay.
He obviously drugged me.
Okay. When I get a trooper close to you, I'm going to need you to put that butcher knife down, though.
Oh, that's not an issue, sweetie. We'll go flying into the woods.
Okay.
Your officer is in no danger. I've been a public
You don't need to throw it in the woods, but I just don't want it on you. Is there anything else on you at all?
Just, I don't even know if I have my cigarettes.
Okay, where I'm showing you, the trooper is a little bit away, but when he gets closer, I'm going to need you to put that knife down.
Yeah, that's no problem, man. I have nothing but respect for the police officers. I've never had a problem with police.
Just advising, he has a knife in his hand he used to cut that leather off. He's going to put it down when he sees you approaching.
Because I don't know if I'm working towards him, and if he comes walking out, I don't know what to do. You know what I'm saying? And I don't want to be unarmed.
Okay.
Because I don't know. I was definitely, I can't, it's so real right now. When this settles in, I'm probably not going to be able to function. This is like shit from a movie. I ran down driveways. I ran all over so much that I'm fucking lost. Excuse my French. I was making sure I wasn't being followed. I don't know whether he's got dogs. I don't know. I don't remember going to his house.
Okay.
I don't want an incident report. I just really need a ride. Get out of here, please.
So if you see him approaching, I need you to put that knife.
Okay, I don't see any lights at all.
Okay.
Okay, I'm starting to see lights coming up behind me. They're ways away, though.
Okay.
I will sit this on the guardrail as soon as I can tell nobody's walking behind me. This is the second vehicle I'm seeing tonight.
Okay.
And I'm hoping this is a cop, because if it's not, I'm going to be really scared. I'm flagging down whoever this is. So if this is the maniac, you're going to hear some crazy shit. I don't know. I think this is a cop because that looks like an extra bright light, so I am now putting this down.
Okay.
I am unarmed. It is on the guardrail.
35
I am not armed.
He sees you, he's putting that knife on the guardrail.
I am not armed.
Okay, I see.
Okay.
It's over here.
He
I'm
sees
not armed.
you. He sees you.
Okay. I just want him to know I'm not armed.
He knows.
I'm not armed.
He knows.
Yes, sir, I am. I'm not armed. I'm just really happy to see you. No, sir, you do whatever you have to do. You're the police. Stand in front of my car. Whatever you need, sir. Okay, I'm going to hang up on you, okay?
Yep, he'll take good care of you.
In the following audio clip, another man can be heard frantically begging for help after being held captive in Mark's basement.
Charlotte County 911.
I want to get away from some creepy guy. He had me tied up in his basement.
I'm sorry, what's that?
I'm trying to escape from some guy who had me chained up in his basement.
He had you chained in his basement? Where are you calling from?
I don't know. I don't know this road.
Are you on?
From here.
Okay, hold on 1 second. Looks like you're on Tyrell Road.
It could be.
Are you walking?
Yeah.
Hold on 1
I don't
second.
even have shoes on.
3562.
I don't know if I should try to go to someone's house. I don't know where I'm at.
I'm trying to put out a call. 62,
Okay.
you can start off for Tyrell. Just east of Morris Road, had a subject that was chained up in someone's basement, just fled the residence. He's out on foot.
He's after me.
Okay, I need you to go to somewhere safe. If you can run up to somebody's house. Where are you at right now? Are you able to get away?
Help me. Help me.
62, he's running towards the house. Guy's trying to come after him. I'm trying to get further. Okay, I need an address where you're at. I'm trying to get it.
What's your address? I'm on the phone with the cops right now.
431. What's their address? I need their address.
He won't give me the address. Please.
Are you outside or inside somebody's house?
I'm trying to find someone to help me.
Are you in the road? I have some state troopers that aren't very far away.
I'm on a white house across from like a barn.
Okay, are you close to the road? Can you see an address on the mailbox?
Really? I'm too far away from the mailbox.
I'm sorry?
I'm too far away from it.
Can you see a mailbox? Are you on the road?
Yeah, I'm on the road now.
6, 2, and 12. He's running down the road, trying to get an address or a mailbox or something from him. Kind of hysterical.
910W.
910?
Yeah. Trying to get away from me. I'm on the call.
Let me can I talk to whoever you're talking to? He's talking to a homeowner there. Okay, do you know where the house was at that you were at?
It was not even a mile down the road going, I don't know what way. I see the trooper.
Okay.
I see both of them. I see the trooper right there. He just, trooper is right here.
Okay, go ahead and talk to them, and you're going to have to point out where the house is at that you're in, okay?
Okay.
All right. Go ahead and talk to the troopers there.
Okay, so
right.
Hang up.
Yep, you can hang up with me.
Okay.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
One of Mark's neighbors in an interview would recount an incident with a man in great distress knocking at his door, begging for help to get away from Mark. He expresses regret that these previous victims never came forward to attempt to have Mark locked up, but notes that it may not have done much in the end.
I hear a pounding at my door at 4 in the afternoon, and I jump up. My dogs are barking like you probably hear, and this kid has his face covered with a rag and a phone to his ear, and he's like, help me, he's after me, just scared to death out of his mind. He's bleeding all over the place. There's blood on my door. A gentleman pulls up in my driveway in a silver SUV, and he gets out, and he's wearing the same getup this guy's wearing, which is a leather skirt and a couple of belts crossing her body, no shoes on, no shirt on. It's 40 degrees out. This kid grabs my arm and clutches behind me. Keep him away from me, just scared out of his mind. I wish he'd have pressed charges, because maybe he could have kept this from happening, but, on a simple assault charge, I don't see that he's going to get out eventually, and something's going to eventually happen.
Mark's husband would also conduct an interview where he would express his regret for Mark's horrific actions and would express his condolences for Kevin Bacon's family, also making it very clear that he had nothing to do with Mark's actions.
Somebody who, when you met, was this kind, gentle soul who turned into this monster. You don't want to believe it. One time I came home and there's somebody there, and he tried to get me involved, and it was like, you know what? I'm going to make me dinner. I'm going to go to bed. That's why I had to get out. So I had to get out. I couldn't take that lifestyle anymore.
And when's the last time you talked to Mark?
I talked to Mark on Christmas Day. I had some friends over, and I didn't want him to be alone, so I invited him over Christmas Day if he wanted to come.
Okay, so
he arrived there in the afternoon, I don't know, sometime around 1, 2 o'clock. He appeared to be normal. He never exhibited any signs that anything was wrong. Police told me that if they thought I was involved, I would have been arrested by now if I was under any kind of suspicion.
why would you think that people would think you're involved?
Because of social media, because of what's out there. All they know is what they see. I understand. They see pictures of us together. They see that we are married, that we live in the same place. They don't know that I love. They don't know the reasons why I love. If you're in hiding, you're guilty. Or if you're in public, you're guilty. If, what you say is guilty. Why would you have him over to your house on Christmas? Well, because he was somebody I cared about, that I didn't want to be alone on Christmas, because how do you stop loving somebody? Do I love him now? The person he was 5 years ago, this person, no. That I'm not running, that I'm in full cooperation, that I'm willing to do whatever I have to do to bring justice, that this man should never be let out of prison. Nobody should have to go through this. No parent should ever have to bury a child.
In the aftermath, Mark Latunski pleads guilty to open murder and dead body disinterment and mutilation. He is sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. So, what may have caused Mark to commit such a brutal crime? As previously mentioned, schizophrenia is a severe mental disorder that profoundly distorts an individual's perception of reality. At its core, schizophrenia is characterized by delusions, hallucinations, and disorganized thinking. These symptoms can create an alternate universe for the sufferer, one that is often starkly different from objective reality. For Mark, this could have meant perceiving threats where there were none, misinterpreting social cues, or even fabricating entire narratives that justified or rationalized his actions. One of the hallmark symptoms of schizophrenia is delusions, steadfast beliefs that remain unshaken even in the face of contradictory evidence. Mark's belief in his royal lineage, the idea that every aspect of his life was being recorded, and his thought that he was providing a benevolent service to people like Kevin are classic manifestations of these delusions. Such beliefs can profoundly influence behavior. If Mark genuinely believed in these delusions, they could have acted as a foundation for his actions, guiding his delusions and interactions. Antipsychotic medications are often prescribed to individuals with schizophrenia to help manage and mitigate their symptoms. These medications act as stabilizers, grounding the individual and reducing the intensity of hallucinations and delusions. When a person discontinues their medication, as Mark did, they risk a resurgence of these symptoms in full force. Without the moderating influence of medication, Mark's delusions could have been more intense and pervasive, further detaching him from reality. Paranoia, a heightened sense of threat or fear, is another common symptom of schizophrenia. Off his medication, Mark's paranoia could have escalated, making him perceive threats or conspiracies around every corner. This constant state of heightened alertness and fear can be mentally exhausting and can push an individual to take extreme actions as a form of perceived self-defense or preemption. Schizophrenia can also impair an individual's ability to interpret social cues and understand social norms. This could have played a role in Mark's distorted understanding of consent and boundaries. In his mind, initial agreements or interactions might have been misconstrued as blanket permissions, leading him to act without considering the implications or consequences of his actions. In essence, Mark's schizophrenia, exasperated by his decision to go off of his medication, could have created a perfect storm of distorted perceptions, heightened paranoia, and impaired social understanding. This confluence of factors might have driven him to commit the heinous crime, with his delusions acting as a misguided justification for his actions. While this analysis provides insight into the potential psychological reasons for his behavior, it does not absolve him of any responsibility. Why do you think Mark committed this horrible crime? Why do you think he was never apprehended for his previous acts? How many more victims do you think there were? We want to give a big thank you to everyone over on Patreon. We want to give a big shout out to Big Pepperoni Pizza, Nexus, Chrissy R, Catherine D, Tony S, Tiffany D, Dulce P. Thank you for watching, and join us next time when we explore the psychological maze of some of the most wicked people.